Last time we met Alexandra Shadowmend and saw her commit to switching places with her brother to become the Valkyr's apprentice. Alexandra sacrificed greatly to be filled with magic, and now is going to pretend to be her brother as she studies under the elite family with deep-rooted magic bloodlines. Peter was excited they would be getting a new apprentice this morning. Someone else to be able to boss around, he thought. Their last apprentice didn't last long. He is literally swimming with the fishes now, as Xena, his mother, turned him into a tilapia. I want someone to do my homework, proclaimed Starla. Last time you hogged the apprentice all to yourself, Matka, and my grades suffered for it. We must tread lightly with this one, stated Xena, the matriarch of the family. I wish we could get a girl apprentice. That way she could do my hair. Why do they always have to be boys? Starla asked this question every year, but Xena had no desire for weak and frail witches. She wanted males to exploit their physical strength. She typically recruited the lower-class warlocks in training, as they were less likely to be missed when the inevitable happened, and the most anxious to apply for apprenticeship. This year, Xena had plans to grow the most pristine mandrake and valerian root farm to overprice and sell. The spellcasters had a high demand for potion supplies, and she wanted to corner the market. The fact of the matter was, the Valkyrs were notorious for never really training the young apprentices in the way of magic, partly because they thought the lower-class spellcasters little more than normals, but mostly because they couldn't be bothered to spend any time but anyone with themselves. They didn't know the Shadowmends personally, but they heard they were people of carnivals and circuses, and that was too informal for their liking. If the other elders and sages ever found out that the Valkyrs were purposefully using an apprenticeship program to their own gain and not for the cause of the realm, they would be fined and sent to trial of the High Sage Court. But they were so rich and powerful, no one would dare rat them out for fear of retaliation. The entire town was none the wiser, as their failed apprentices either never lived to talk again or disappeared shortly after any grievances were aired. In fact, the elders treated them like gods because of their benevolence towards the apprenticeship program and their willingness to bring on lower-class wizards to the fold. If they only knew. Hi. Hi, I'm Alex. I cleared my throat, hoping my voice was manly enough to be convincing. I brought all my books and limited wardrobe I borrowed from Xander to make sure I was comfortable. Their teenage daughter was not impressed by me from the get, I could tell, but then again, I don't think I felt the warmest of welcomes from the rest of the family either. Xena, the lady of the house, immediately told me what my place was in the family and the rules. No touching anything that belonged to them, no fraternizing with anyone in the household unless I was asked to hold conversations with them. I was in charge of all meals, and most importantly, I was to be in charge of their new greenhouse and botanicals. Fine. I don't mind a bit of work. I expected to pay them for the hospitality, but when I asked when the spellcasters' classes would commence, they laughed at me. For you nucleuses, must prove yourself if you want to know magic. I put you to work, not much downtime. Mondays through Saturdays. You are ours to do with as we wish. You get few hours at night and half days on Sundays. First, assignment is to find mandrake and valerian roots. They are almost extinct. If you fail, you will be punished. I tried to interject and she continued. You come into my house and demand training from beginning of meeting? You most certainly will not receive. My house, my rules, and if you decide not to play nice in sandbox, I make it very hard for you and rest of your family. Your mothers would not like if they get fired from circus they work, da. She was threatening me the first 10 minutes of arriving at her house. I was being threatened. She was a fraud, I told her. And you are nobody. If you choose to leave, I will make it most uncomfortable. Also, with your small frame, you may not withstand such demand. We will have to see. I can make it easy for them and leave. But what about Xander and his adventures with the normals? And what about my moms and their careers? They may be rich and powerful, but I am a shadow mend, smart and clever, and I would get what I came here for one way or another. Xena asked her son Pieter to give me a quick tour of the working areas, with strict instructions not to take me into the bedrooms, and not to introduce me to Killian. We were not to be friends, she ordered. If Killian was any kin to these jerks, who needs to get to know him anyway? Pieter suffered of a slight stutter, but he was a cocky one. The kitchen and dining areas were extravagant like they were. I was getting increasingly annoyed the more the reality set in. The more I realized I wasn't an apprentice to the Valkyrs, but an indentured servant. Pieter kept telling me of his favorite meals as if I were to jump and make him all his favorites at the snap of his fingers. Arrogant bastard. Next, we toured the greenhouses, where the valerian and mandrakes were to be planted. Apparently, the Valkyrs wanted the spellcasters to buy potion supplies from them at a very high cost. Knowing their reputation, they would get everything they wanted and more. Pieter suggested I find the harvestable stat if I didn't want his mom to punish me. With the same breath, he said he would enjoy my suffering. What a gem. I guess the guy doing the carpentry was this Killian person I wasn't to engage with. Maybe he was another apprentice, because from the back he didn't resemble the Valkyrs. He was quite rude though. He didn't turn around. Pieter reminded me I was not to talk to this Killian fella. It was forbidden. If you two are caught talking, you will be disciplined. And if you're curious to see what punishments look like, then look at Killian's face for reassurance. Ugh! These people were monsters! I assumed Killian was deaf and mute. After the whole punishment talk, I didn't want to poke the bear so early in my arrival. Instead, we went to the next wing for the last tour of my working areas. And massages. I like massages. If you don't know how to give a massage, you should probably learn. This Pieter guy was getting on my very last nerve, and I wish I knew magic so I could turn him into a frog like Stat, or maybe something more deserving like a cockroach. We descended the stairs to the butler's quarters. As infuriating as my day had been, this little safe haven was just what the sages ordered. Now to strategize on how to get my hands on mandrake and valerian root, I honestly had no idea what they looked like. Merlin's beard? I was in trouble. As I napped, I felt the door open and a presence in my room. I didn't dare turn around to look. I was frozen in my spot. Or maybe I was dreaming. After the initial fear, a feeling of peace embraced me, as if I was being guarded by a benevolent being. I was at peace all at once. Kindness, love, well-being. These were the emotions now radiating in the room. And then I heard this voice in my head.
Don't give up, boy. You will find Mandrake and Valerian in the realm by the old moon sanctuary. They only show on a full moon.
Never up, never down, never. Like a theme in a song, clever. Feeling high, feeling low at the same time. Feels so right, then I'm wrong, hoping I'll be fine. But I get up, I always do. I never think, I always do. Never thought I wouldn't jump, oh what a fool. But if I fall, I would get up again.
Back at the Valkyr estate, I ran to one of the greenhouses and planted the valerian and mandrake roots, then watered them. I noticed Killian was still at his post. I guess Xena had him making cabinets for the greenhouse's storage units. I figured they weren't home, so I'd say hi, and also tell him how rude he's been for not attempting to say hello. At first, he didn't say a word and just grunted, which he was really good at. He immediately jumped down my throat.
Get away from me. The Valkyrs have eyes in every corner of the estate. If Xena found out about your introduction, it would be disastrous.
He continued to work, and I noticed two things. His face bore the deepest scars, and wondered if this is what Pieter and Xena kept alluding to as punishment. Secondly, his accent. I've heard it before. I bypassed both these things to vent some more. What was wrong with these people? Couldn't we tell anyone about them? This isn't normal. There had to be something we could do.
We do nothing. You go back to work.
Fine. Incredible. On my way to the kitchen to make my first meal for the beasts, I ran into Starla. She demanded I tell her if I found the roots her mother requested of me. I angrily told her they were planted and watered, and to excuse me as I was beckoned in the kitchen. While the tomatoes were seeping into the cutting board, I was greeted by an elderly gentleman. He was a bit of a mumbler, and sadly, I wasn't in the mood to talk pleasantries. A day in this hellhole, I wanted to run back home, but my family was top of mind, and whatever these sickos had planned in the torture room was keeping me in my place for the first time. He asked what was for dinner, and it annoyed me further. I just wanted to literally scream, "Vegetable salad!" Urgh! Poor Ron was startled by my passionate announcement when the old guy Ron finally asked,
By the way, what's your name, son?
"Alex Shadowmond from the riverside of Glimmerbrook," I regretfully said through gritted teeth. I wasn't upset with this newcomer, just highly annoyed at the turn of events.
Oh, yes. I knew Shadow Men or two back in my day.
He continued to mumble and then started to recount a story about a magical warlock called Ronfald over 100 years ago. Ronfald warned the denizens of the imbalance that threatened the planet, how the people made fun of him and his crazy notions. He kept preaching news of their impending doom only to be met with ridicule. He said finally Ronfald was the catalyst to unite the houses to set aside their differences and create a union. The union that is still present to this day. And then he said Ronfald built a magic bunker in the depths of the sanctuary on the realm where he took his family and friends.
Probably why you're here on this day, because of the cleverness of Ronfald's Shadowmen. The Shadowmens are astute, Alex.
If they're so clever, I wouldn't be in this mess, I almost cried.
Oh, I don't think you lack competency or boldness, dear boy. Some things are just meant to be. I wouldn't let a little bleakness ruin your plans, but perhaps there's another way to reach your goals, By the way, what are your goals, young warlock?
Ugh, what a question Ron asked of me. If he would have asked me yesterday, I would have told him my goals were to be a master spellcaster. Today, I just wanted to survive the Valkyrs and kick Killian in the rear. We ate together. Old man Ron was pleasant for a Valkyr. He was wise and, dare I say, kind? It was too soon to tell. And while I didn't trust anyone in this household, not one bit, Old man Ron asked me to put away his books in the library after dinner. So I did. I noticed the big book on the bottom was a potions book. I made sure everyone was busy and snuck it under my sweater, then carried it to my room. My room was the only thing about this experience that made me smile a bit. That and the borrowed leather-bound book in my hands. It possessed a unique smell of old paper and dried herbs. It was a comforting aroma. The book was written meticulously. It came with many warnings and ancient gobbledygook. I couldn't really make out all of the symbols, but the bulk of the recipe was pretty clear and surprisingly simple. A cauldron, a full moon, a great disposition, a pure heart, and one shiny apple. As luck would have it, I picked up an apple in my harvesting escapades today. All I had to do was plant it in the morning. An hour later, I learned my first potion, thanks to Old Man Ron and his mumblings, and a tiny request to help him put away books. I realized I didn't need the Valkyrs to teach me anything. I had access to their libraries and their resources. I just needed to ensure no one caught me borrowing their things. I may just be okay if I can keep my temper at bay. And I think I can handle that. I think.
But I get up, I always do.